Bowman tonight. Continuing with the series entitled Expose Justice Clarence Thomas. This is part 3. I'll be talking about the most coveted invitation in the world. Once again, according to ProPublica, this is where the information has been retrieved from. Thomas's first billionaire benefactor is likely H. Wayne Huenza, believed to be the only person in American history to build 3 separate Fortune 500 companies. One of the 3 was AutoNation, which Huenza founded in 1996 before building it into the largest car dealer in the country. Between 1998 and 1999, Huenza's holding company spent $500,000 lobbying federal agencies to regulate the automotive industry, according to Open Secrets data. Over the years, the Huenza family and companies gave millions to state and federal Republican candidates, and once through a fundraiser for the Florida GOP that helped keep the party afloat for months. The billionaire was known to regularly lavish gifts and perks on those in his orbit. Thank you for tuning in. He routinely took friends on opulent vacations. He paid his employees handsomely and sometimes covered their bills and personal expenses on a whim. Huenza once handed box tickets for the opera, which were worth thousands to his career, Bob Leonardi. "I led the life of a multi-millionaire without being one," Leonardi said. For 20 years, Thomas benefited from Huenza's attention as well, availing himself off of the billionaire's fleet of aircraft and other luxuries. Huenza took Thomas to see the Miami Dolphins and Florida Panthers several times between the mid-90s and mid-2000s. According to interviews and photographs, Huenza owned both teams at the time. Executives saw Thomas around Huenza's office often. Richard Roshan, the former president of Huenza Holdings, said Thomas once shadowed the billionaire during meetings. "He just wants to see what I do every day," Roshan recalled Huenza saying. On at least 2 occasions, Thomas attended Huenza's birthday and Christmas parties, which the billionaire held inside his private hangar at the Fort Lauderdale airport. Van Poole, a lobbyist and former chairman of the Florida GOP, recalled riding down the elevator at the nearby Hyatt Pier 66 hotel, which Huenza also controlled. When the Thomases stepped up with a security detail, the group discussed college sports and then traveled to the party together, Poole said. Thomas occasionally flew on Huenza's helicopters, sometimes taken off from the roof of the corporate headquarters and at least one of his Gulfstream jets around Florida, according to his former pilots. But the billionaire's most luxurious planes were a pair of 737 jets he had retrofitted like a lounge, complete with recliners, love seats, mahogany dining, and card tables and gourmet food. At least 2 times in the mid-2000s, Huenza sent one of them to pick up Thomas and deliver him to Fort Lauderdale, said John Weiner, the flight attendant on board. Weiner recalled chatting with the justice about his nomination to the Supreme Court and the tumultuous Senate confirmation hearings after Thomas's former aide, Anita Hill, accused him of sexual harassment. He said, "Just imagine a job interview and you're in front of 100 people that you hate." Weiner recalled Thomas remaking. How would that interview go? In the year 2000, Huenza gave Thomas something that was priceless at the time, a standing invitation to his exclusive members-only golf club, the Floridian. Designed by golf legend Gary Player, the course was lined with cottages for Huenza's friends, a yacht marina for them to dock, and a helipad if they wanted to fly in. One family friend told the Huenza family biographer that the Floridian was the most coveted private golf invitation in the world. Those who worked and played there said the membership rolls were a Rolodex of the rich, famous and powerful, from Michael Douglas and Rush Limbaugh to Michael Bloomberg and former Vice President Dan Quayle. Donald Trump once asked to be a member, but Huenza spurned him, according to 3 of Huenza's former employees. All 200-plus members were honorary and didn't pay dues. Joenza covered everything. It was a little slice of heaven, a magical place. Former media personality Matt Lauer told the biographer, "You drove through the gates and it was this fairy tale land that he had created." It's unclear if Thomas was a member of Joenza's frequent guest with similar privileges. The billionaire's former personal photographer and two former golf pros at the club recalled seeing Thomas there multiple times over the years. One of Joenza's helicopter pilots said he had picked the justice up from the property, and a fifth employee, a former waitress and concierge, said she once served Thomas and Joenza, who were wearing golf attire, as they dined alone in the enormous waterfront clubhouse for lunch. "Have you met a Supreme Court justice?" Joenza asked the waitress before she took their order. "This is Clarence Thomas. Today, the Floridian," which the Joenza family sold in 2010 before it underwent renovations, has a $150,000 initiation fee. Thomas first met Joenza at a former gala in Washington, D.C. in 1992, when they both were inducted into the Horatio Alger Association. Henry Kissinger and Maya Angelou were among the other honorees that year. The organization, named after the 19th century novelist who popularized rags to riches folklore, gave millions in college scholarships each year and also brings together some of the country's wealthiest self-made business tycoons for opulence events. In real life, Alger was a minister on Cape Cod who resigned from his parish after he was credibly accused of molesting boys. Damn. Whew, I can't make this stuff up. "We're proud to honor Justice Thomas more than 30 years ago," an association spokesperson said in a statement, "and remain grateful for his continued involvement in our organization." She said Thomas spends countless hours mentoring scholarship recipients. Let me see if we can get a photo there. There you go. I think that's Joenza and Justice Clarence Thomas. Yep. Maybe small, but you can see it. All right, now back to the story. Thomas appears to have met Joenza, Sokol, Novelli, and Bergeon through the organization. Several of Thomas's trips to Florida in the 2000s appears to have been connected with the association. In that time period, he joined Joenza at Horatio Alger scholarship ceremonies in South Florida. Travel that the justice disclosed in several of his yearly financial holdings. Pardon me. Let me correct myself. That the justice disclosed in several of his yearly financial filings. My bad. However, he never identified Joenza in any of his disclosures. The association spokesperson confirmed to ProPublica that the billionaire hosted those events and covered all costs involved. Experts say that means Thomas' disclosures would be at a minimum incomplete and misleading because the rules require federal judges to identify the source of the gifts they receive. Source means the person or entity that paid for it, said Kathleen Clark, a legal ethics attorney at Washington University in St. Louis. Belonging to the association has had its privileges. As part of a board meeting, the Thomases once went on a lavish trip to Jamaica, where they were hosted by a wealthy donor who owned a luxury hotel atop a former sugar plantation. Oh, hell no. Whew. Johnny Cash performed. Horatio Alger Association membership itself is worth at least $200,000, according to the organization's meeting minutes in 2007. A sum that those who nominate a new member are responsible for raising in that person's honor. The association spokesperson said there was no requirement to raise money for new members back when Thomas was inducted. Thomas has likely helped the group earn many times that figure since then. Every year, the Justice hosts an event for members inside the Supreme Court's Great Hall. The Times previously reported that the event afforded the Horatio Alger Association unusual access to the court. ProPublica examined boxes of the association's historical archives, including financial records, that show the group has required donations of at least $1,500 to $7,500 for non-members to attend the Supreme Court event. In 2004, those who donated $100,000 for a table at the main ceremony got 10 seats inside the Supreme Court. In the judiciary's code of conduct, which is general guidance that does not apply to Supreme Court justices, though they say they consulted, there is explicit language advising federal judges against using the position to fundraise for outside organizations. But that's what Thomas has done, said Virginia Cantor, a former government ethics lawyer who served in administration of both parties and reviewed the association's financial records at ProPublica's request. To use the Supreme Court to fundraise for somebody's charity is, to me, an abuse of office, she said. Cantor acknowledged the organization may do good work, but that's besides the point, she said, because wealthy donors aren't supposed to be able to pay thousands of dollars to visit a justice inside the courthouse walls. It pays to play, Cantor added, isn't it? I'm Tyrone Bowman. Never surrender, never quit.